Derick Giwner back with Matt Rose for an edition of Learn to Bet Harness Racing. In this issue, we're going to focus on trainers. The trainers are probably the most important part of the whole aspect of betting harness racing. I think the caretaker who works with the trainer probably spends more time with the horse, but the trainer is clearly the most important person in the winning equation.
Yeah, the trainer is the I guess you could say the brains behind the whole operation. Figure out which horses to getting owners, figuring out which horses to have in your barn, figuring out a horse's regimen, what the horse's tendencies are, where to enter a horse, classifying a horse, what driver to use on a horse, what medication to use on a horse. Yeah, obviously it's undoubtedly one of the top angles and top variables when you're looking at a race or breaking down a harness race and want to place your hard-earned money on that race. Who is the trainer and how good is the trainer?
When picking up a DRF Harness Eye Pass Performance or picking up, let's say, a track program, you got to know where to find the trainer, and we're going to show it to you. This is a DRF Harness Eye, and we have examples. The ones circled on the left are, the trainer and the statistics for the race. That would be common in just about any program. The one in the boxes on the right, we list in DRF Harness Eye the individual trainer of every PP line. Some programs do it, some don't.
Yeah, so on the top horse, number 3 horse Synergy, you see a guy's name is Per Engblom, and each one of those running lines shows that he was the trainer, the listed trainer, which obviously is a huge angle because if you see a different trainer listed there, it's clearly something to consider. Did the horse improve with a different trainer? Did he not improve? Was it because he was at a different track? There's a lot of variables that go in, but yeah, and this example, the harness IPPs you show, make it very simple to see the trainer's statistics, either for that specific track or trainers in the trainer's stats in all of North America. And it goes by win percentage, and it's a very, very simple yet one of the most essential pieces of information when you're breaking down and dissecting a harness race.
We're going to take a few slides here as far as wagering when it comes to trainers. And my first one says this is a trainer's game. And without a doubt, the trainers are doing everything here. When it comes down to the bottom line, a good trainer makes all the difference.
Oh, yeah. Like I mentioned earlier, and you say here, they set the regimen, they set the tone. They classify the horse. For the most part, they'll choose where to enter a horse. They'll have them and their staff with their daily routine, especially if they take on a new horse, if a horse is claimed, or if you have a new owner brings horse into their barn, figuring out their tendencies, idiosyncrasies. And a lot of people at the racetrack or betting or online, they don't know what's going on. They just see the horse for 5 minutes on the racetrack. They don't know what goes on behind the scenes. It's a 24/7 operation.
We talk about streaks a lot in sports. There's no better betting angle in harness racing than a hot trainer. It's actually something I even told my daughter when handicapping. I said, find the trainer that wins early on the card, and if they have more horses in later, follow them, because there's a good likelihood that they're going to win a second race.
Oh yeah, without a doubt, that's something I always follow. If you have a one of the leading trainers or trainers with a lot of volume, so they have a lot of horses on a given card, sometimes if one horse is good, they're all good. Or if one horse comes up a little short, they might all come up short. Sometimes if one horse is scratched due to sickness, it's an angle. Or the rest of the horses, fit to race, but maybe there's a little bug going around the barn. Obviously a huge angle, and I love to see a leading trainer. If they're good early, quite often they're going to be good late.
No doubt about it. We're going to move to our next slide, which is trainer skill, trying to figure out how good our trainer is. Obviously, we showed you the Harness Eye Pass performances, and you can look at the percentages and see UTRS, Universal Trainer Rating System, which is basically a weighted average of wins, places, and shows. The second option up there is a better way to tell who the best of the best are. If we're going to show the little web page of where you can go on the USTA, the USTA is basically the registry for all harness racing in the United States, and they keep records for everything. And under the entries and results, you can go down to top performers, and that'll take you to a page where you can look at the best horses in the country. You can look at the best drivers, the best trainers. You can sort them by win percent, by wins, or by earnings. It's kind of fascinating. I like to go in there and sort it by earnings and see how
how much money these trainers have earned with how many versus how many starts. And it's amazing. Sometimes you see some of the smaller yet big successful outfits. They have fewer starts, fewer number of wins, but they're right up there in top in earnings. And then you have a trainer that might be on a smaller circuit where they race for less money. They have a ton of wins, but not as the earnings aren't as high. And it's very easy to sort by wins, by earnings. I believe you can sort it by UTRS. You can sort it by number of starts also. So if you want to narrow it down to the much smaller stables, you can see how they're doing. Just a very easy to use tool that's updated, I believe, daily, and it's a great way to keep track of the leading conditioners in the sport.
Going back to our previous slide, the third item on there was keep records at your favorite track. History can predict the future, and it's so true. There's a reason why they call them past performances. You know, trainers will ship in and out of tracks. They'll go from one place to another, and you'll have horses that perform better at certain tracks. You'll have trainers, you know, that have a much higher winning percentage at one track than another. You'll see trainers that might have a 30% win rate at one track, and they go to another track and they win at 4%.
You know what? Some of that comes down to proper classification. You might have one of the bigger stables shipping into a smaller circuit, and you can use that big fish in the small pond saying, without a doubt. But yeah, I mean, you've heard the phrase, there are certain horses for courses. I mean, there's certain, trainers for courses. And yeah, like you said, a trainer that maybe his horses are better on a smaller size track, like a half mile or 5/8 track, but they don't perform well on a mile track with a longer straightaway. I mean, it certainly can't hurt. Keep your favorite track in mind, or your favorite track size in mind, and it can be a great handicapping tool, to see how they've done in the past. And like you said, it can certainly predict the future.
We're going to move on to our final slide, which is probably one of the most important things when it comes to wagering, and it's certainly something that a lot of handicappers key on, and that's trainer changes. And the first item gives you a few different ways, training changes can occur. A horse can get claimed, which means he's purchased out of a race. They put him in for a specific tag, let's say $10,000, and someone will buy him for $10,000. Owner could just decide, hey, my horse isn't racing that well. I want to try, a different trainer and see if he could do better with the horse. And of course, a sale, where either privately, where an owner sells to someone else, or via an auction online, or at a brick and mortar location.
Yeah, I mean, listen, a trainer change, especially for a horse that might be underperforming, is easily the biggest angle out there when handicapping a harness race. Certain trainers, no matter how good they are, how successful they are, they might just not be able to get certain horses to go. No matter how good the trainers, how good the horses, they just can't get them to go, and the owner might decide, okay, I need to shake things up and try somebody else. Or the trainer might go to the owner himself and say, okay, you need to sell this horse. I can't get him to go. He's unhappy with my routine or my regimen. And I mean, you've seen since the beginning of time, so to speak, a horse changing barns or going to a new trainer, and all of a sudden they wake up dramatically. There's really, I don't think there might not be any bigger angle in harness racing or harness racing handicapping than that.
And of course, one of the easiest ways to tell is number 2, which is percentages tell the story. If a trainer is winning at 5% and then the horse moves into a barn that's winning at 25%, there's a reasonable chance the horse is going to be better in this next start.
Oh, absolutely. And you know what? The savvy harness players out there pick up on that automatically. For the people that watch the odds board, so to speak. But yeah, there's. I see a third bullet point. Sometimes any change is good. Yeah, and that goes back to a change of venue. Sometimes when you change trainers and the horse wakes up, or you shift from one track to another. Sometimes any change is good. Just to break a horse out of his routine or something like that. Certainly can't hurt, and it's obviously worth considering. Probably the first thing you need to consider when you're looking at a race and you happen to notice what's a very notable trainer change.
Well, that's a look at the trainer scenario. Like I said, there's so many options when it comes to wagering as far as what you want to play and what angles you want to use, but none of them really are quite as good as the trainer. It really is the most important thing you could look at. I mean, you can handicap all day long, but if the trainer didn't do their job, the horse isn't going to perform.
Absolutely, without a doubt. And Yeah, I mean, trainers and drivers are clearly the most important aspects. Cream rises to the top, sometimes they say, and the top trainers will get the most out of the horse for the most part, and certainly one of the first things you need to look at, without a doubt, when you first open up a harness racing program.
That'll do it for the Learn to Bet Harness Racing Trainer Edition. Good luck.